country. Out of them, only 600 or so are medium or large machines, and just about 10,000 people employed in this. I think in future we'll have to go into tens of thousands of people employed in this industry or its application sectors, and probably hundreds of thousands of machines coming into this country for all the applications you already discussed.
An important question that arises is the relevance of computers to India. In this country, the labor is still cheap and the technology level is still not to the world standards. Then in what area and in what way India offers an advantage compared to the developed countries in the field of computers? Dr. Vinay Bharatram, a leading industrialist, has this to say.
Well, as regards the comparative advantages that India has in the field of computers, I would like to distinguish between hardware and software. In the field of hardware, the developed countries have the advantage of large-scale production, which involves even the use of robotics and computer-aided design in manufacturing various kinds of hardware. Now, it's not just a question of volume, but the interrelationship between volume production and automated production techniques. In India, our scale of production is so low. In fact, what we as a country produce in a year is produced in a day by a large number of medium-sized computer manufacturers. The new computer policy, of course, will hopefully encourage higher production in the country, and gradually, I'm sure, automatic production techniques will get established. But this naturally will take some time, maybe a year or two. In the field of software, we have distinct comparative advantages. Our engineers are as good as the best available in the world, and we have demonstrated tremendous software capability, not only in the area of system software, but also application software. And it is here that I see great opportunities for the computer industry in India.
Government's latest policy statement on electronics is a bold step. Many industrialists now acknowledge that the ball is in their court now. What is going to be the impact of this policy on the general environment of electronics industry and specifically on the computer industry? Mr. Dilip Shah, a leading professional and heading one of the premier organizations of computers in this country, spoke to us like.
It's a good policy. I think it indicates the emphasis our government is placing on computers as a tool for efficiency and productivity. Frankly, I see it as a first step towards making latest computers available to Indian users at affordable prices. I also see it as a challenge to us in the industry to create demand and to attain volume sales so that the prices can come down to international levels.
Being an old professional, we also asked Mr. Shah as to what changes he has seen during his career from the days when he started and today in the 80s.
Well, I think it takes me back to my old days. I remember days when computers could be used only by the large companies, by very large users, people whose revenue was, say, 10 crores, 20 crores, 30 crores. Today, with the cost of computers having come down, even small businesses can afford it.
There is hardly an area which will remain untouched by the computers in the near future. One of the major areas is the banking industry, where mechanization process has already started, but it has a long way to go. The public will really be affected when the mechanization in this industry is complete. To talk about the plans and the future in this area, we are speaking to Mr. Sekhar, who is a specialist in the banking industry. Mr. Sekhar, now since a go-ahead has been given by the unions to computerize operations in the banking divisions, what are the immediate plans that you are seeing where the computer will come in?
Mechanization in banking industry is mainly focused to improve the customer service. At the same time, while achieving that goal, it also helps the bank management to improve the productivity by getting proper information at the right time without any delay. The problem today in the industry is the massive volume of operations or the transactions which have gone up over the years, whereas the time span to process that kind of volume has not changed.
We can see that banks will possibly improve their own functioning by employing computers. But how does a customer get a better service by the use of computers?
Fine. Today, if you visualize yourself in a branch today in a bank, if you want to collect money from the bank, you give you a check and you know how much time it takes. Now the whole process will be shortened, and then you won't be able to, you won't be made to wait rather for a long time to collect your money or encash your check. That's the best service given to you. Number two, all your accounts are updated simultaneously and all interest calculated and credited to your account, whether it is in terms of the transfer transactions or the cash transactions. Everything is updated and your passbook and your statement is maintained.
Indigenous manufacturing capability of computers in India has really matured in the last 5 to 7 years. The indigenized content of the computers has been steadily increasing, and today modern factories assemble, design and develop computers and roll them off the assembly lines. It is a mass production technique which is being employed as the volume of production of computers increases, as the demand in the market for computers increases. One of the most fascinating wonder of the capability of a computer is its capacity to draw graphs and play with designs. In a splendor of color, not only it can display gimmicks on the screen, but it can carry out very complex calculations and help in design process, help architects, draftsmen, and town planners and whatnot. Astrology is still a prediction. How has the computer helped in improving the accuracy of these predictions?
Well, astrology is an occult science also, but up to certain extent we have to make it calculations. So if the calculations are correct, then the pseudo astrologers can't pretend that, well, the chart was not correct, that's why the prediction is not coming true. So now the chart is correct. Now intelligent people should come out with their talent, the predictions, because now they can't blame the chart is not correct because of the computers.
I see. So the computer has put a sort of a check on passing the buck, saying that the calculations were wrong due to the horoscope being fed wrong data. Now computers will do exact calculations.
Astrology basically is a science, and this science is, has two divisions. One is calculation and another is interpretations. So as far as calculation part is concerned, we are making the use of the computer, because computer is swift, computer is fast, and computer is accurate. Once we know the date of birth and place of birth and time of birth of any native, so we can cast the correct chart along with yogas, along with constellations, positions, sublots, everything.
Computers, not very long ago, just about 10 years ago, were very, very expensive and beyond the reach of a normal industrialist. Computers were being used for routine applications in the past. Computers needed a lot of logistical support, which again was very expensive. Today, computers are within the reach of a normal businessman also. The costs having come down from 60-70 lakhs to 60-70,000 rupees. The only difference that is there today being a small machine which can also be programmed by not just a specialized programmer but a layman. Previously, computers needed specialists. Today, the software that has been developed by specialists over many man-years can be utilized by a normal man by pressing keys and taking maybe a few days to learn how to operate his specific system.
So where is the computer taking us into the future? We are going to have computers with whom we can talk like a human being, which will understand our voices. We are going to have computers into our homes where people, housewives and children will be playing. We will have computers into every school, into every university, into every office. We are already talking of paperless office, where there will be no work done on papers, but everything will be entered through computers. So the future is anybody's guess. But one thing is certain, that computers are here and they are here to stay.
Have been added in the process.
The annual Income Tax Commissioners Conference is a very important feature of the year. To talk about this conference, which was held recently after the budget, we spoke to Mr. T.P. Jhunjhunwala, Director of Inspections, New Delhi.
Annual Commissioners of Income Tax Conference is normally held sometime in May or June. This year it was held in April itself because two major reasons. One, the board or the government, you may say, wanted to have a quick appraisal of the performance in last year and to find ways and means to improve the performance.
What was the major theme of the conference this year?
There were two major themes. One, improving the taxpayer service, and the second, combating tax evasion. As regards the first, main ways and means were found out to improve the taxpayer service with particular reference to the facilities to be given to the taxpayers and the problems that they face with their dealing with the income tax department. In this respect, very major decisions have been taken and they will be implemented soon.
Bombay has a very special place of mention as far as tax evasion goes. Being the gateway to India and the commercial capital of India, it has its own peculiar problems. Mr. Amit Twigg, Chief Commissioner, Income Tax Bombay, speaks about them.
Well, I can tell you about one of the major tax evasion problems with which we are confronted in Bombay. As you know, the builders have been resorting to rather nefarious practices which has siphoned off quite a lot of black money into their hands. This has come about because a large number of smugglers whose activities have been curbed are now diverting their ill-gotten gains into the building trade. They are constructing huge apartment buildings. The agreements do not reflect the real character of the transaction. And the only way we could book those builders is to conduct search and seizure operations. This we have recently done on a massive scale in Bombay. I think it has been an unprecedented operation involving nearly 800 officers and staff. We have seized documents of such startling value that on appraisal of the same, we are finding that crores of rupees of tax have been evaded, and both the builder and his associates are going to be prosecuted.
One can hardly speak of tax evasion without the mention of the film world. Whatever the other seizures, the limelight of the tax raids is invariably hogged by the film stars. We spoke to Mr. S.P. Krishnamurthy, Commissioner Income Tax Bombay, Film Circle, regarding his method and approaches to tackle this particular industry.
I must now mention to you the difficulties which are faced by the income tax officers while tackling tax evasion in the film industry. Unlike other law enforcement agencies, the taxman comes into the picture long after the so-called crime had been committed. He is confronted with documentary evidence, entries in the books of accounts of producers and artists pointing out much lower payments than what are generally believed to be have been made. But the income tax officer is not empowered to make assessments on the basis of what he reads in film magazines or what he hears in popular gossip, and because such assessments have to stand the test of appeal. Any additions made without proper addition merely because we all believe that the stars are getting lot of money under the table, which will not stand the test of appeal. Therefore, what is being attempted is the stars as well as the producers have been compelled to maintain books of accounts.
One of the peculiar problems of the film industry is the mounting arrears of certain film stars. In fact, every year in the parliament, some of these names figure with a certain regularity. Mr. Krishnamurthy also explains this peculiar phenomena of the mounting arrears which never seem to be wiped off.
The total arrears due from film stars is a very, very small percentage of the arrears due from the total income tax arrears due all over the country. But on account of the glamour associated with these names, questions are raised in Parliament and elsewhere about the non-collection of these arrears. You had asked me about the names of some of these persons occurring with monotonous regularity. This is not because no amounts have been collected from them, but income tax is a continuous process. As each assessment is completed, fresh demands are created and these have to be collected. So whatever is collected is reduced and the fresh amounts are added. We have been making determined efforts to collect the taxes due from people belonging to the film industry, and I may assure you that the income tax department is not treating the people of the film industry in a way different from people belonging to other trade. All their glamour, etc., is to be forgotten when they enter the portals of the income tax office.
Tax evasion takes place in a variety of ways, and so does the display of wealth. In the various parts of the country, there are peculiar problems of income tax as well. Mr. S.P. Singh, Chief Commissioner Income Tax of West Bengal, speaks about the problems that he faces in Calcutta or West Bengal.
In West Bengal, we have got some special problems of combating black money in the shape of ostentatious spending in marriages. We find that in a single day, many SSEs are constructing pandals worth 5 lakhs of rupees and also spending 10 or 12 lakhs of rupees in marriages, in parties, in drinks and other things. Under the Income Tax Act, we have got powers and we are using those powers to reach those spots where such marriages take place immediately after the marriage has been performed, and to find out those details of this ostentatious spending and keep a record of them, and also record the statements of those involved in such expenditure. Those statements are being used and will be used in future to make the proper assessment in their cases.
Generally, we are quite familiar about the income tax problems of the big metropolis cities. But if we go away from these cities to the states like Bihar, they have their own typical problems. Mr. Saroj Kumar, Commissioner Income Tax, Bihar, tells us about those problems.
काले धन पनपने की समस्या बिहार में भी वही है जो दूसरी जगहों में है। ये बात सही है कि कलकत्ता, मुंबई जैसे महानगरी के बराबर छोटे प्रांत में उतना काला धन नहीं पनपता है। फिर भी यहाँ का भी काला धन उन्हीं तरीकों से पनपता है जो तरीके बड़े शहरों में किए जाते हैं। यहाँ भी इसको रोकने के लिए हम लोगों ने काफी सर्च और सीजर किए हैं। जैसे उदाहरण के लिए बिहार में कुछ मेडिकल प्रैक्टिशनर्स या डॉक्टरों पर सर्च किया गया, जिसमें ये पाया गया कि वो अपनी आय बहुत कम दिखाते थे और बिल्कुल उनकी ठीक आय बहुत ज्यादा थी। इसी तरह कुछ दवा विक्रेताओं के यहाँ भी छापा मारा गया, जिसमें फिर यही मिला कि छोटे छोटे दवा विक्रेता काला धन जमा करके 30-35 लाख रुपए तक का इन्वेस्टमेंट कर चुके हैं, जबकि उनकी आय 15,000 रुपए से ज्यादा नहीं दिखाई जाती थी।
The Income Tax Department performs a very key role in the economy of the country. To get a complete perspective on the role and functions of the department, we talked to Mr. N. Subramanian, Chairman, Central Board of Direct Taxes. The direct tax structure has been simplified to a great deal in the new finance budget announced recently. Now we come to that old problem of the Income Tax Department, where a common man still has difficulty filing a simple tax return due to the complexity involved in the tax return form, and so he has to consult a specialist. What are the steps that income tax is going to take to simplify this procedure?
Well, simplification of return is not such a simple question as it may appear. There are certain requirements of law, and the return form is designed to satisfy such requirements of law. But there are 3 or 4 different forms of return of income to deal with different assessees. A simple assessee is to file only a 3-page return form. Even for helping such simple return forms, the department has come out with publications which is called the Taxpayer Information Series. We have published a booklet from which the taxpayer can easily understand how to fill up the return form of income, and he can file the return form of income. Only in certain complicated cases where he has got different sources of income and where the deeming provisions of the Income Tax Act apply, the return of form of income will be complicated. In a large number of cases, it will be only the simple form of return of income.
In spite of the measures that you have just mentioned, the fact remains that the problem of increasing black money has remained unchecked. Does it really mean that there are no practical solutions to this problem?
Well, there are no cut and dried solutions for dealing with black money. It is a question of trial and error, a question of steps taken and counter steps taken to trace this black money. but the government is determined to abolish the source of black money, and the continuing steps will be taken to deal with this menace.
Many people wonder today as to how your department of such size and dimensions managed to collate information which is so huge without the help of computers.
We have already started using a microprocessor in our department. We have identified 4 or 5 areas to start on computer, and we are already working on that. We have also decided to install microprocessors in Bombay, Madras, Calcutta. We have got long-term plans of integrating all these things and building up an information center for the whole of India.
The recent post-budget conference of the Income Tax Commissioners was a very important one, where a lot of decisions are taken which will be implemented in the coming year. Could you highlight some of the major decisions and some of the major planning processes that were discussed in this conference?
One of the major objectives of the recent Conference of Commissioners is to find ways and means of explaining the provisions of the new finance bill and helping the taxpayers to comply voluntarily with the tax laws. The objective is to maximize the collection of revenue. One may recall that the finance minister has said that the simplification of the tax rates and the procedures and the reliefs given will lead to increasing voluntary compliance and will ultimately lead to increase in the government revenues. This is the objective which we have wanted to devise in this Commissioners' Conference. We have taken decisions to simplify procedures. We have taken decisions even to simplify the procedures relating to initiation of penalty proceedings. We have given even some soft options to the taxpayers with the objective of increasing the tax collections. That is a major objective of this conference. Another objective was to increase the public relations and to project a more positive image of the department as helping a taxpayer who wants to comply with the tax provisions, with the tax laws. There you will find a much better, much helpful attitude in the income tax department. We are also setting apart separate waiting rooms by the taxpayers. We will increase the facilities of the taxpayers who visit our offices to pay their taxes. In fact, the objective is to make the payment of taxes a very simple and a very pleasant experience for the taxpayer. This is the objective of this conference, and we hope we will be able to achieve this objective in the year to come.
The problem of black money continues to baffle one and all in this country. But seeing by the views expressed by the various senior officers of the Income Tax Department, we do hope that a major dent would soon be made so that this unchecked growth of black money could be at least controlled, if not eliminated, in the near future.